Hey, I'm Kevin O'Malley from Art Seals Productions, and I'm going to run you through the Vista i3 and the Vista operating software from Jands. So one of my favorite things about the desk is the desk itself. This is a real-time representation of the desk. So what we'll do, for example, is this clip, this page is all right here, exactly the same as it is, and if I throw this fader, it's represented, the fader's been thrown on screen. If I take it down, you'll see it go down on screen.
Okay, so it's a complete copy of what you're...
Yeah, exactly. Now I can set this desk up to be whatever I want it to be. Every one of these buttons is assignable to essentially kind of whatever within reason. You know, it can't operate a plane, but within reason you can set it to be whatever you want it to be. So at the moment, this whole window right here, say this particular section of it, is one cue list. Like a cue list you'd have on a normal standard theatrical desk with your Q1 load go kind of thing. You have your play button, this is where you would select the cue, this little star button here, you have your play, and this is your intensity and your preload. However, if I go up here to my console, I can split. We'll do it on the last one here on this bank. I can split this down so that each one of these has an individual and separate function that doesn't affect the other ones in any way. So if I take this and I split it down, you can see here I've split the play button and the fader down and this down so they're independent. I'll explain what I've done there in a second. But I've split this down into 3 and it's split down into 3 down here. So this is an individual button that can be running group, preset. It can be a go button for a cue list. It can be extracts. It can be a canned effect. It can be whatever we assign it to be. And the same is true of the play button here, and the same is true of the fader. And I'll just demonstrate where and that comes handy. We'll take it in terms of you're sitting down at a theatrical show, you have your rig up, you want a group of your hot wash or cold wash in your front of house. All you do is, and I've already done it here, is you just select the lamps that you want. So take these ones, you go down here, create new group, just call it group 1 for the sake of argument. Go back into console. If I take this group 1 and drag it to this section here, the top one, now what happens when I go into programmer is if I hit group 1, it'll select those lights. If I hit it again, it'll take those lights away. And you can make as many of those as you want. You have essentially an unlimited number of pages here that you can scroll through. And it'll only move on to the next page that you have no information in it. So you can't end up at page 100 with nothing in it and have to track all your way back. So it makes it somewhat idiot-proof actually, which is great considering there's an idiot operating. The benefit of this kind of stuff is that it means that you can set the desk up really whatever way you want to operate it, whatever makes you comfortable. I personally like running it as kind of a cross between a standard theater desk and something like a moving lights desk with palettes and presets and stuff up here and then cue lists down here. I also have my standard, this is kind of your master go area where you say your main cue list or the cue list that you want to run. Once you're happy editing it, you drop it in here. And dropping it in here is literally just as simple as going up here, selecting your clips, picking whichever cue list you want, dropping it straight in there. That's it, job done. That's your cue list, and then this becomes your go. You can very easily turn your cue lists into a chase. I've already done that separately, but if, say I have a set of 5 cues and I want them to run as a chase to all follow on, instead of having to make each one of them a follow on and go through it, there's a lovely little button right up here that just says chase on. I've turned the chase on. If I rate, I can turn the rate from 60 beats per minute down to whatever I want, or up past. I can set the rate here very easily. And then at the touch of a button, a series of what were individual cues now turns into a chase very quickly and very easily without really having to do anything much. Let's imagine we've done a huge amount of programming. We've got 3 or 4 cue lists. I've got a couple here. I just have one cue list in here. I'm gonna stop playback on this. I've got a couple of cue lists here. One I've already done. So I want to edit times, I want to magic down. This for me is one of the most important features of this desk. It's a timeline. Same as using Final Cut or a software like that, where you're dealing in terms of timelines and clips and stuff. It's a wonderful way of editing time. What we've got up up here, at the moment it says summarize features, and the features are all of the aspects of each cue that I've affected. In the cues that I have running at the moment, all I have is intensity, position, and color. I know they're quite small and tough to see, but when you're working on the desk and they're close, it's closer to you, it's easier to run off. But if I select, let's imagine for a second that I want, instead of all the color to come up at once, we want the color to kick in lamp by lamp by lamp. When I expand the color menu, every lamp that's involved, and I only have 4 here now, but every lamp that's involved is accessible to me. I can either select them one by one, or I can clip them, and it's literally, to edit the time, it's literally just a case of dragging it to the length that you want it. You have a timeline across here, up at the top. So if I want the color to come in before everything else and faster, I make the block in the timeline shorter. If I want it to come in really quick but at the end of the cue, I just grab that whole block and I move it all the way to the end of the cue, or I can set it in the middle. Or my favorite thing to do with this personally is to set up things like kickouts and cross staggered fades, and all you do is grab the bottom of the list that you've selected, drag it across, and you end up with that kind of kickout, as I demonstrated there. And because this was built using Linux, it runs on all of the same keyboard shortcuts and soft keys that we're all used to. So say I've just done that and my designer, or me as the designer, or someone else goes, oh no, that's wrong, or I've just done something I didn't want to do. The magic of getting rid of it is just Control and Z and it goes away, and I can Control Z as far back as I want to get the cue exactly the way it was. If I do something I like, I hit Control C, I want to copy that to the next cue, I just highlight everything, click Control C and it carries on, or click Control V, sorry, and it'll copy the information from, let's say, one cue to another cue if I want the same thing to happen, but say maybe with a different color or a different, I can just, because basically all it's doing is, we're just affecting the times in which things take place. It's a wonderful way of editing times and getting things done quickly and efficiently, and also seeing it, actually having a picture in your head and building that picture like you'd build a video clip or like you'd build a sound clip. Basically a language that more and more people are starting to speak, editing multimedia and stuff, it becomes easier to move cross-platform. Another little thing that's really handy for theatre programmers particularly is that's my list of cues there, right? So say I'm plotting a standard theatrical show and cue 3 is my hot wash full up, and that comes up 3 or 4 times throughout the show. All I have to do is click it, grab it, and drag it into position. The cue is named as the next cue in the step. It's not a repeat of cue whatever, but all the information is carried forward, and I can just stack clips like that. So really, if you're working on a very simple theatrical show and you've got maybe 4 states that are repeated 3 or 4 times, you build those states in the order and just drag them to where you want them. And then even after that, if it's almost exactly the same but you want the time to be slightly different without punching in on a keypad, which some people like and I like myself, but you also have the option of selecting what you want and just changing the time on it, changing the way it happens, and it's literally just click and drag. And if you do that change and you don't like it, you just hit Control Z and you get back to where you were, to where you started out originally.